So when the mind and body have settled a little bit, just spend a few minutes meditating on bodhicitta. Let's really try to move towards a very clear sense of our motivation. For studying this text, practicing mind training. However you find it most helpful to meditate on bodhicitta, really try to connect with what it means to you personally. I'm going to do that for 5 to 10 minutes. the space in front of you. Visualize your root guru in the form of Shakyamuni Buddha. And if you don't know who that is, then just hold the conviction that Shakyamuni Buddha himself is your root guru. Embodying a limitless mind of great compassion. Caring for each and every sentient being more tenderly than a mother cares for her own child. With a complete wisdom and understanding every aspect of reality, able to show each sentient being in the best way the way, the path to complete freedom from suffering, complete realization. Seated on a golden throne, a lotus, sun, moon, cushion, wearing the 3 robes of a monk, seated in the full lotus position, right hand touching the ground, left hand holding a golden bowl filled with nectar. His body is made of golden light. Bring to mind that thought of Bodhicitta that you've just been meditating on. Directing your whole mind towards the attainment of enlightenment for the sake of others. I'm going to recite the prayer on page 21. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. And our offering, page 23. Visualizing this entire world in the form of a pure land, filled with all the most precious things and splendid offerings. This ground, anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, 4 continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine this as a Buddha field and offer it. May all living beings enjoy this pure land. Shakyamuni Buddha comes to the crown of your head. His body dissolves into golden light, which flows down into you, pervading your whole body and mind, purifying all negative karmas, mental obscurations, confusion and ignorance, sickness and suffering. Your body becomes very light and pure, like crystal. Your mind merges with Shakyamuni Buddha's holy mind. Abiding in peace and bliss. Focus on emptiness of all phenomena. And feel that there's no duality, no differentiation between yourself and your guru. Like water poured into water, your mind and his mind completely merged. Mind of clear light, formless and empty, completely clear in the nature of awareness. But without any existence from its own side. When you notice that quality of awareness and clarity, investigate, see if you can find that mind. What is its nature? Where does it abide? The true nature of the mind is that when you search for it, it can't be found. Just let your mind rest in that awareness of emptiness. The awareness that the mind does not exist from its own side. Independently. Gently relax your concentration and come back to the room. find your mind? Did any of you find your mind? Not yet. Keep looking. Anything to report from this week or last week? Those of you who weren't, or the previous week, those who weren't here last week. Anything from the mind training in your meditation or in your daily life that's been of note? Or have you forgotten? Okay. If not, then we'll proceed.
So maybe something that sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Yeah.
Something that happened a couple of weeks ago, not related to emptiness, but on the meditation on death.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So after doing the meditation on death for a few months, like even before the course, and trying to think about it, and you know, it was still kind of superficial a bit.
Yes.
A bit, you know. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna die.
Yes. You know. And then I watched a movie. There is a story of a person who is diagnosed with terminal cancer.
Right.
And then it doesn't really have a very ethical life. He's a kind of gangster.
Yes.
So he tries to kind of repair some of his faults. And it was like, BAM!
Yeah.
It hit. And it's kind of interesting how, you know.
Maybe the meditation was working after all.
Yes, exactly. You know.
Even though it seems superficial.
It's not transparent. You don't see the thing working, and then after a while, something can
trigger. Yeah, it can often be a mistake to think that the meditation isn't working because you don't see the signs. Yeah, suddenly something may shift. Yes. That was it?
Yes.
Okay, very good.
So I hope this can provide encouragement for
yes.
and me as well. For
was this the Bad film? It's beautiful.
What?
Was this the film Beautiful?
Yes.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yes.
I can understand why you felt the way that you did. Yeah.
That's nice.
Okay.
But I mean,
it's worth watching for that. I never thought of it as the way you just said it just then.
Yes. I mean, there's nothing special about the movie. It just after some preparation.
Yes.
And now it's fading again.
Well, true. Yeah, you have to keep doing it. Yeah. Yeah. Well, often what the lamas say about these preliminary practices is to kind of warn us, not to think these are just things that we kind of get over with and then we get on to the real thing. Is that the tantric yogis, the people with the really high realizations, they wear these bone sort of necklaces and things. Yeah. And that is to remind them of death all the time. They are practicing death awareness meditation all the time.
Wow.
Yeah. So, it might be more useful to call them foundation practices rather than preliminary practices, I think.
I suppose because in our lives, death's not around us at all,
So we need to do it more.
Yeah. Like when people are dying, they go off to a special place.
Yeah, that's right. And in India, of course, those, not the place where people go to die, but the place where when they go to when they are dead, they don't bury them under the ground. They're just, like out in the open. And that's where the tantric practitioners used to go to meditate. In the charnel ground, as they called them. They meditate with dead bodies all around them for that reason. So that they...
I suppose we could go to a graveyard and do the same kind of
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
mean
It's
that
really
way.
not
I mean it
quite
in a
they're not
perfect
quite
way.
the same sort of impact, I think. But yeah.
But it does when you see all those, when you go around the gravestones, these were all real people.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it does. It is very helpful to do that. Yeah, that's
I'm a
true.
Bradford City fan,
Yeah.
and we had the fire disaster. 56 people died, and it was the last match of the season on Saturday, and we commemorate this every time. But as you walk up to the ground, there's a stone, and it's amazing how many people look at that stone and see all the ages of the people, like from all ages.
Yeah.
And you just think it could have been any of us.
How many people died?
56.
56.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah, quite a lot.
Ranging from little toddlers
Yeah.
up to
Grandad.
really old people. But really, that message, what he's saying, is it could happen to anybody at any time. It did.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
War memorials always do that to me.
Yeah.
When you go through a very small
Oh,
village
yes.
or a small
Yeah.
town. I was driving through Cone recently,
Mm.
and I glanced to the right, and the number I couldn't. I think it was such a small town, and it was.
Which would have been much smaller then.
Exactly.
Mm.
Exactly.
Mm.
Yeah. I always find that as a.
And there'd be brothers and everything, wouldn't
Strong
there?
reminder.
Yeah.
I've got a very basic question,
Yes.
which is I've been trying to, I would call it reflect rather than meditate,
Right.
and this is my question, on the 4 preliminaries on
Yeah.
a daily basis.
Okay, very
I
good.
do this on my train to work.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah.
But it's a bit like what you're saying is I feel like I'm pondering emptiness, and I could just as easily be pondering the war in Syria. It feels like I'm pondering, and I suppose I don't really know how can I make that more effective, and what does progress look like, or will I still be sat there in 30 years going,
Good question. So, sorry, this is about emptiness, or because you said the
4
preliminaries?
Yeah, the 4 preliminaries.
4 preliminaries. Okay. Okay. So
Yeah, so I think, but I would, think a little bit about the sense of preciousness. I think a little bit,
Yeah.
about karma, etc. But it's kind
Yeah.
of, it feels like a daily ponder.
And how long have you been doing that?
A month or so.
That's a short time. So I think that's too short a time to come to any conclusion one way or the other as to whether it's effective or not. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be effective. I mean, I think meditation, the Tibetan word means to familiarize yourself, become familiar with something. Yeah? So it may not feel like it's going in very deep at the moment, but your mind is getting more used to that thought. And as it does so, it will become easier to have that. And every so often, you have a little bit of an insight into it. And slowly it builds up. I think the main thing is, in relation to your question is, to try to occasionally remember to look at what's the quality of your attention. If it is really just sort of quite poor, just sort of daydreaming kind of, then maybe that needs attention. If it becomes something that is just mechanical and sort of, but if you're putting a little bit of effort, not too much. I mean, to sort of, it's not good to strain and try very hard to concentrate, sort of totally. That's not very useful. But as long as you're kind of monitoring, trying to keep some clarity of mind as you can, on the commuter train. And I think what you'll find is over time that it becomes more meaningful. And if it doesn't, then look again and see if maybe it's better to do it before you set out for work, or But that kind of pondering reflection at this level, I think that's good. We don't, you have to do quite a lot of that first, which is technically referred to as contemplation rather than meditation, or analytical meditation, you can call it. Well, I suppose contemplation. Yeah, the difference between contemplation and analytical meditation. What's that? I think contemplation is a little bit more of a relaxed activity, more like what you're talking about. Analytical meditation might be you're sitting on your cushion, and you're thinking quite intensively about it. But the contemplation is very good kind of preparation for that. So I think it's fine. But at some point you might want to do more focused sort of sitting meditation with it when it all becomes quite familiar. It's good to just, because then it comes to your mind more easily. You're walking around with more of an awareness of those things as you go in the rest of your life, yeah? Simply because, the neural circuitry that's being reinforced or whatever, it's just a habit of mind of thinking about those things. So I think that's quite positive. Yeah, stick with it. For the time being anyway. see what unfolds over time. The Dalai Lama always says, you shouldn't not judge your progress in meditation from day to day or from week to week, at the minimum from month to month, and certainly from year to year. If you've been doing it for a year, you should know whether it's working or not. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm not saying you have to do it for a year, but as long as it seems to be doing something. Okay. Anything else? Or shall we?
I'm just going.
Yes,
just something that might add to. I remember being at that point when I first heard about the four preliminaries, and I used to do the same, sort of ponder them all at the same time. But I think reading to me was what really helped.
Yeah, reading's a very good practice, often neglected.
Yeah.
Very important aspect.
Yeah.
Very good to do some Dharma reading every day.
Yeah,
Highly
that's
recommend
what I tried
it.
to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Every evening before I went to bed, I used to try and just pick up a chapter from.
Yeah.
Just flick
Yeah.
through and look at maybe what sort of stood out to me that I wanted to read, and then that would usually lead to some kind of reflection maybe the next day, what came out of it, and it sort of then formed a pattern that way, and it sort of seemed to build more.
I think it's very
to me.
important. Very important to regularly do Dharma reading. I think it's one of the keys to making progress. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So, if I say the word reification, how many of you know what I'm talking about?
Sorry?
If I say the word reification, I knew you would know.
Reification.
It comes from the Latin res, which means a thing. It means to make a thing out of something.
Is that R-E-I?
Reification,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Reification. Reifying things is making them into a thing. And the word occurred to me when I was thinking about this thing about the emptiness of the mind that we looked at last week. It's that we reify it. We think the mind is a thing, and it's not a thing. And the same with the self. The I is not a thing. So when we look for it, we can't find it. And actually everything's like that. Nothing's really a thing in the way that we think it is. So this book isn't really a thing. It's just a lot of pieces of paper with ink on. Actually, it was more not so much the mind as the next bit. The emptiness of emptiness is the next section. And we are liable to fall into the trap of making emptiness a thing. And Nagarjuna said that those who fall into this error are said to be incurable. So when we carry out this meditation, and what happens is at a certain point, you're struck with this shattering realization. You're looking for the self. You're looking through the body and the mind. Where am I? And suddenly, you get it. Nowhere. This I that I think I am doesn't exist anywhere. So that's a very sort of vivid experience. Mm-hmm. And so when we have a vivid experience, it kind of sticks in our mind. We think, oh, that thing, that emptiness that I experienced, where's that? I'll try going to find it. So we can fall into thinking that when we have that, that awareness arises, of course, and every consciousness, every thought has an object. Yeah. So the object of that thought is the lack of true existence of the I, the lack of concrete self-existence of me. Well, that's a perfectly good object in the sense of an object of awareness, something that mind understands. But it's not a thing. Yeah? That emptiness, it's a pure negative. It's just that the non-existence of something is not another thing. But there is this possibility of grasping to the emptiness, because we have this vivid experience, and we think, of course, in the moment that we have it, we don't make that mistake. But in the next moment, we have a kind of a mental image of the emptiness, and we can grasp onto that.
Is that when, when you're trying to get somewhere with this meditation?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's referred to as we get a generic image of it.
Exactly. Yes.
Is that what you're meaning of the
Exactly.
bit we grasp at?
Yeah.
And we try to bring it back as that.
Yeah.
Right.
So that generic image, which is a conceptual thought of emptiness,
Yeah.
We can grasp to. Emptiness itself, if we can't grasp it. If you saw emptiness, you couldn't grasp to it, because it simply is non-grasping.
But is it okay to use that?
We have to use it.
As part of the process, don't
We have to use
but
it.
not to grasp it.
The only way to get to a direct perception of emptiness is through having a conceptual understanding, which is the generic image.
Yeah.
So a generic image is kind of like, this is an actual book. So when I'm looking at it, that's not a generic image. I'm actually seeing this particular book right now. When I turn away from it and remember it as an image of my own, when I've seen lots of books, somebody says the word book.
Yeah.
There's something that appears in my mind that's
A
kind of a
generic
general what a book is like, which is kind of made up of some combination of all the books I've actually seen. If you see what I mean. That's the generic image, or that's how it's explained in Tibetan psychology. I think it's roughly correct, but it's the way that the conceptual mind apprehends an object as a generality. Yeah, a book generally. Or even Paul, you see, that's a generality, because you are different from moment to moment. When I think about you, when you're not there,
I'm a generic Paul.
Exactly. Yes.
So this conceptual emptiness, then, David, is going to be different for all of us. Is that?
Yeah, it's not a conceptual emptiness; it's a conceptual awareness of emptiness.
A conceptual awareness.
Yeah, it's a thought rather than a direct perception. Yeah.
Of a generic emptiness.
No, what's generic is the image. The emptiness itself isn't generic, but
No.
sorry, hang on.
Sorry, I'm confused.
Yes, no, you are right. You are right, actually. Yeah, because when I actually directly see emptiness, I am seeing the emptiness of something. Emptiness always has to be the emptiness of something, and that's the point that's made here, that emptiness doesn't exist on its own without a base. The object that is empty is the base. Okay, so this book, if I'm investigating the emptiness of this book, the book is the base, and then the emptiness is the way that that base exists. It's not. It doesn't exist from its own side. So, but when I think about emptiness generally, that it is generic in that sense. Yeah. Okay.
Which means my conceptual generic emptiness could be different to yours. I know not true
yeah.
emptiness, not
Well,
ultimate.
yes, yeah. I mean, there's two things involved here. One is an image, right? So when we talk about a book,
Yeah.
you may have a different image in your
Of
mind
book.
when you think of the word book, yeah.
I see.
But your concept isn't different.
Right.
You can still recognise what's a book and what isn't.
And that's
the
just
same
the
as me.
base. Right.
Yeah?
That's just the base.
So the meaning
Yeah.
is the same,
Right.
but the image in our mind might be slightly different. Yeah.
And then the emptiness that's behind that is the same for both of us. Is that right?
Or is it also rareifying emptiness?
Is it what?
Is what, right?
No, carry on. You were saying,
Yeah.
he was asking, is emptiness the same? So if we take a book,
Yeah.
and we analyze it,
Yeah.
and we both have a conceptual
Right.
uh,
Awareness.
awareness of the emptiness of the book.
Right.
You were saying,
Mhm.
would the emptiness itself be the same?
If we both have a correct awareness, yes.
Wouldn't this be itself rareifying emptiness? I would say yes.
Any conceptual mind sees its object as inherently existent. Yeah.
But if you're seeing it, the emptiness properly, then you're not having that perception of it, correct? If you're conceiving
When you-
the emptiness properly,
When I
then
have a
it's different-
conceptual understanding of the emptiness of the book,
Yeah.
that can be correct, because the book, to that mind, the book is not appearing as inherently existent, but the emptiness is. So then I have to analyse the emptiness to see that that's non-inherently existent,
Yes.
and then I'm correctly seeing the nature of the emptiness, but I'm reifying the emptiness of the emptiness.
Okay.
So then I have to analyse that, and so on. Because it's the nature of a conceptual mind that its object appears to it as
Yeah.
being inherently existent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. That is.
Sorry if that's we're going a little bit into the depths of it here. And I'm trying, I mean, I think it's quite exciting stuff, this, but it's going a little bit away from what I was saying, which trying to keep it, because it is the mind training, it's Lojong, it's not, I'm trying not to go too much into the complexity of the analysis, but we can't avoid it. We can't avoid it. We have to kind of get to grips with these quite difficult things.
Can I quickly
yeah.
ask David, because I know
Yeah.
you need to get on, but
Yeah.
the
No,
idea
we-
of that generic image
Mhm.
as an object,
Yeah.
is that the importance of that is so that we can bring it to mind without having to go through the whole process of the. I mean, obviously we have formal meditation on it, where we're doing analytical, have some aggregates and all the rest of it, or an object. But then if you have a generic image that you can bring to mind, or whether it's a feeling or a very quick shortcut, if you like, to getting that idea, you know what I'm saying? I'm not explaining it very well, but is that valid to use?
Well, it's a bit more than that, Lindsay. We at the moment, we cannot get our emptiness in any other way than using a generic image.
That's what I mean. I think that's what I
We
mean.
can. It's not just that it's kind of a shortcut, but any conceptual awareness
Yeah.
is based on a generic image,
Yes.
and it's only through having a conceptual awareness that we can get to a direct perception. Okay, so we need that generic image. The image itself isn't. Well, it's not all that important, but it's the image is kind of like. The mind operates with that to grasp the nature of the object. Okay,
I think what
the
I mean
image
is,
itself isn't really important, but
Yeah.
it kind of is. It's used by the mind as a sort of way to get at an understanding of something. So it's the understanding that is important. Is what I, the content of that thought what I understand by the emptiness of the book. That's what's important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Would it be
I think
helpful
what
to
I was
say
thinking-
that it's not necessarily an idea, because the conceptual perception of it? Do you know what I mean? It's not necessarily a series of thoughts or whatever, but more to do with how you're actually perceiving something at the time because of your misapprehension of the way things actually exist. It's more like a
No. The object, whatever object is appearing to your mind until you have a direct awareness of, a direct realization of emptiness, whatever object is appearing to your mind appears to be inherently existent.
Yeah.
Okay. But that doesn't mean that you haven't got a correct understanding of emptiness. You can have a correct understanding of emptiness. I may know that book is empty of inherent existence. But when I'm looking at the book or thinking about the book, that book is appearing to my mind as inherently existent. When I'm analysing the way the book exists, the object that's appearing to my mind is how the book exists, not the book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? So that object will appear to be inherently existent, but I'm still understanding that the book doesn't exist inherently.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good?
I get that.
Okay.
Yeah, I get that bit. But I'm
Right,
trying to sort of explore
So
the
at that time,
conceptual-
the perception, what's appearing
yeah.
is the is not the book, but what the mind is apprehending is the nature of the book, the emptiness of the book. Yeah. So what's appearing to mind and what the mind is apprehending isn't necessarily the same.
Yeah.
Mind is an appearing object and an apprehended object, and they're different.
Okay.
So the appearing object, until you realise emptiness, always has an appearance of being inherently existent.
Right.
But I can still be apprehending the emptiness of the book. Okay?
And David, I think what I was
Are we
meaning
getting-
is,
Yeah.
if we use the book as an example,
Yeah.
you could say if
Very good, Paul.
say for example,
Yeah.
you could look at the book and bring to mind
Yeah.
that generic image of the emptiness of the book without sitting and going through a 20-minute analysis of it to get to that point, is what I was meaning.
And so this is an intellectual understanding of
Yes.
emptiness.
Well, sort of. What I mean is sometimes when your mind's not, you need to sort of really spend some time with it again. You need to sort of really do a very, well, I suppose an analytical meditation, if you like, to deepen your understanding of it. But then sometimes you can bring it to mind without having to go through the analysis. Is that?
No, it's not
confused?
really anything to do with a shortcut, Lindsay. Whether
No,
you analyse it or you don't analyse it, it's only a generic image that is you're operating with until you see the emptiness
Yeah,
directly.
it's still a generic image.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that. I'm not explaining it well. No. I'll leave it.
But it is important, and it is. I'm glad we're discussing this because I do struggle with it a little bit.
Yeah.
So the analysis and the intellectual
Yeah.
understanding of
Yeah.
emptiness,
Yeah.
you're having to live with that because that's all you've got.
Yeah.
Until the point where you have a direct realization
Right.
of emptiness, and that's more of a feeling almost because you experience the emptiness rather than intellectualize it.
Yeah, I mean, I think to call it a feeling as well is slightly misleading.
Yeah.
It's an experience that is completely different from any experience
Yes.
we've ever had.
Yeah,
We've never had an experience of directly perceiving.
but it's not mind creative. I'm sorry, I bet you're a bit kind of worms there. It's
It
not-
is. Everything's mind created.
Actually, yeah, just totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's not imaginary. No.
It's not imaginary.
No, no,
It's not
no,
mind
it's not,
created.
no.
It's there, isn't it? Yeah.
It is mind created.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Show me something that is not mind created.
But
If it
it's-
wasn't mind created, how could your mind perceive it?
Exactly. Okay, but next time you bring me something that is not mind created.
Next week.
Next week.
Okay, children. I'll have a think.
Okay.
Can I meditate on that one?
So if we're all getting a bit dizzy here, let's try
maybe you can
to...
say something again as a kind of encouragement.
Yes. We may need that.
I've been suffering from abstract thinking, excessive abstract thinking for many
Okay.
years. So from maths. And there was a famous mathematician, von Neumann, who said that mathematicians don't understand maths. They get used to it.
Yeah.
So...
And
And
how
it
is
is
that?
very true, actually. It is very true.
This is encouragement, isn't it?
No, seriously. The first time I read some maths that I've never studied before, I have this feeling of painful struggle.
Yes.
And then I read it again and again and again. And after a while, this kind of hostility settles, and
I think that's
And
what I
then
was
it's
trying
like
to explain
start to understand.
with what I was meaning about an understanding of a generic
Yeah.
emptiness.
So did von Neumann think that anyone other than mathematicians understood mathematics?
I have no idea.
Realizations.
It's an interesting question.
Yeah. Well, that's what words, right?
Um,
You know, like what we understand.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got the emptiness now. don't we?
Yeah.
You've got that, okay.
Yeah.
We'll let you move on.
But I'm not sure about von Neumann's theory. I mean, I think that when
It's
it
just
comes to
an anecdote.
emptiness,
It's an anecdote.
when it comes to emptiness, I mean, he may be right about mathematics, but with emptiness, I think, yes, we are. The point is to understand it, but to understand emptiness is something totally different from seeing emptiness. It's not the same at all. In our tradition, in some Buddhist traditions, they say, well, there's not really any such thing as understanding emptiness. Okay, that's not our tradition. You know, we say there is such a thing as a conceptual understanding of emptiness that is correct, but it's not the same as directly seeing emptiness at all.
It's just like an intellectual understanding of it, isn't it? The conceptual.
It is,
It's
yeah.
sometimes called that way.
Mm.
That's what I mean.
Mm.
Anyway,
Mm.
I'm going to try to sort of bring it back to.
Which of Atisha's slogans are we on now? In Mandalay? So I'm not really on my phone. I've got my
This
Kindle.
is not Artisha, by the way. This is Geshe Chekawa.
Yeah, but the slogan, you know, the
Emptiness of emptiness.
They are Geshe Chekawa, not Artisha.
they're his slogans.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, they are. The root text is by Geshe Chekawa, not by Lama Artisha. Lama Artisha was the founder of the Lojong. It was, came from him originally,
Yeah.
but this text is not by him. The other text in this book is by Artisha,
Yeah.
the
Yes,
Jewel
yes.
Rosary of an Awakening Warrior.
Yeah.
So this one is by Geshe Chekawa. And so we're on in my edition is page 78, but it may not be in yours. But it's section 3 under the of chapter 2. No, sorry. I see. 1A3. The emptiness of emptiness is the heading, and the line is the remedy itself is released in its own place. And there's an explanation of that line on the next page of the commentary. It says, the realization of emptiness is the most effective remedy for curing the chronic disease of ignorance. That's why we're studying this, because it's the self-grasping that creates the delusions, that create the mistaken actions, that create suffering, the karmic result of suffering. So, in order to stop the suffering, we have to stop creating the karma. To stop creating the karma, we have to stop the delusions, the afflictions from arising. They all arise from the self-grasping. To stop the self-grasping, we have to see emptiness. And that's why we're studying it. However, says the commentary, holding the remedy, the realization of emptiness, to be something exceptional and self-existent is one of the grossest ignorant conceptions. When it says the remedy, it means the emptiness itself. holding emptiness to be something exceptional and self-existent, is one of the grossest ignorant conceptions. The remedy itself must also dissolve into emptiness and be released in itself. So once we've seen the emptiness of the self, and we've seen the emptiness of the mind, which was the next thing, then we have to see the emptiness of the emptiness itself. Emptiness itself does not exist from its own side. Okay, that's the point. So he says, when we begin to approach meditation on emptiness, we should apply the meditation to our own ego identity. The first thing is to looking for the I. Okay, that's the basic meditation. And then we've made some progress with that. He says, later transfer that awareness to the concept of then later transfer that awareness to the concept of self-existence in outer phenomena, in relation to outer phenomena, including the mind that is meditating. So meditate on the emptiness of, first of the self, then phenomena, or all things, including the mind, and finally we should direct our insight towards emptiness itself. After meditating on these aspects progressively, we should meditate on them collectively, trying to keep the mind stabilized on the negation of our ignorant conceptions for as long as possible. So what he's saying there is bring all of those three things together, 3 or 4 things depending on how you look at it. Emptiness of the self, emptiness of phenomena, emptiness of the mind, and the emptiness of emptiness. Yeah, bring them all together into our meditation. And then some instructions on the sort of state of mind that we should try to create when we're meditating on emptiness. We're trying to have good concentration. So like the sunlight that brightly illuminates all the land, the mind should not be dark and dull, but bright, clear and alert. The mind should be illuminated and radiant. That's a sign, that when maybe we're getting closer, we've caught a glimpse of emptiness. There's this sense of clarity and space and luminosity. A wide awakeness. Like the stillness of the deep and vast ocean, which, unlike a small stream or river, is not easily agitated. The mind should be kept calm and tranquil, far away from any agitation. Okay. So these 6 points here are quite useful, I think, to get a sense of what the meditation should be like, if it's, and there's a bit of a, there's a sort of can be a bit of a trap, because kind of trying to measure the quality of your meditation. Don't get kind of hung up on this. It's not, it's not like this. It must be all wrong. That's not necessarily true at all. But this is kind of what we're aiming for. This state of mind in meditation where things are kind of coming and going without the mind being disrupted. Everything can kind of come and go. So within the space of the mind, if you like.
This is very beautifully worded, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So it's helpful, to have something to sort of aim at. But at the same time, if the meditation is a struggle, and it's not like that at all, it's not necessarily that there's anything wrong. That might be what you need to do to kind of get to this, if you like. You may have to go through quite a lot of stuff before the mind does settle into this, is moving towards this sense of the space-like meditation. So once we have got somewhere with the contemplation, thinking and reading about it and studying about it, we've got we feel we've got a pretty good grasp of what it means, and then the analytical meditation, looking for the I within the body and the mind, and then looking at, well, what is the mind? Where is the mind? Get the emptiness. Slowly there comes to be a sense of what emptiness is, that it becomes something that's like a familiar thing. I'm going to say familiar object. I mean, it is an object in the sense of something that the mind is aware of. It's not an object in the sense of a thing, obviously. Right? As we become more familiar with this space, in which things can come and go without sort of disturbing the mind, without any grasping. And as we develop a bit of concentration, we become able to hold that object before our mind. So it is still a generic image. Emptiness is appearing to our mind, but not in a way that is completely in accordance with its true nature, because that emptiness appears to our mind to exist from its own side. Nevertheless, we can be based on it, our understanding of it can be correct, even though it's appearing as inherently existing. And if we have a really absorbed in concentration on that, then it is kind of like, it's similar to if the mind being absorbed in empty space. But space is a different object from emptiness. Space and emptiness are not the same, but they are similar. Space is the best analogy to what emptiness is kind of like. Okay. So there is this state of the mind being focused on emptiness, being absorbed in it, like being absorbed into empty space. That's the space-like meditation. And it's within that space-like meditative equipoise, at some point then there's a breakthrough to actually seeing the emptiness directly. Yeah. So that happens because you have that pure concentration, single-pointed concentration. There's a point where it becomes possible to maintain that single-pointed concentration and do the analysis at the same time. So normally, until you reach quite a high sort of stage of development in meditation, as soon as you try to do analysis, the concentration is broken. But at a certain point, it becomes possible to do a very subtle analysis, but the concentration is not disturbed. That's that point is where you go from the first Bodhisattva path to the second. First one is the path of accumulation, which is where the bodhicitta becomes spontaneous. So bodhicitta is arising in every moment. And that can't happen unless we first of all developed single-pointed concentration, shamatha. So on that path of accumulation, as well as continuing to meditate on bodhicitta, the bodhisattva is also meditating on emptiness. And at that stage, they can meditate single-pointedly on emptiness, but they can't do the analysis at the same time. They have to alternate the shamatha and the vipassana. And then there's a realization where it's possible to do them both at the same time. That's when you enter the second path, the path of preparation. And it's through that meditation where you've got single-pointed concentration on emptiness, and you're doing the analytical meditation at the same time, through the power of that meditation, then it's possible to have that breakthrough to seeing the emptiness directly. And that's then the path of seeing, the third bodhisattva path. So maybe it's giving us a little bit of a map, you know. At the moment, we start with with studying and contemplating emptiness so that we understand it a bit better, and doing the sort of basic meditation, looking for the I, identifying, well, there's self-grasping, that, you know, get to know self-grasping, get to know what it looks like, what it feels like, what's going on, what is self-grasping doing, you know. When I have this reaction, there's a lot going on in that moment, you know. There's a lot going on in the mind. So the more often we look at it and get too familiar with it and watch it, I kind of make friends with it, you know, study it, then we begin to see, oh yeah, there's that going on, there's that going on. And then we can begin to really sort of get a fix on, this is the self-grasping, this is the thought of I that's inside all of my, you know, reactions, all these afflictive emotions. And then we can begin to focus in on that and do the analytical meditation. Right, where is that I? And then it becomes more refined, and we start looking for, okay, so we start off by, you know, identifying very strongly with the body and with certain kind of fairly crude things like that. When we get to just identifying with the mental consciousness, that's very subtle. But still, you know, we can use the same method. We can, okay, we analyse that. So these kind of, you know, these stages, it's good to know them, because even if you still, I'm only on stage 1, it's good, isn't it? Okay, so but from there I'll get to stage 2. Whereas if you're kind of trying to, you know, if you're just thinking, well, here I am, sort of confused about the whole idea, and then you've got this image of seeing emptiness directly. You can't envisage getting from here to there, can you? But if you've got more of a map, that these are all these different stages, it feels more possible, I think. So this is quite helpful to have a sense of, you know, what's going to happen if we persevere with these meditations. These stages will unfold. Ultimately, we will get there. So that's the kind of, you know, if you like, at a certain point, yeah, we have acquire the ability to enter this space like meditation, where the mind is just absorbed in contemplating emptiness. And you don't really see anything else. And then when you get up from the meditation, there's everything. And then that's the next bit, the post-meditation period. So this post-meditation period is everything except the meditation itself. It's not just the next 5 minutes, you know, it's the rest of your life. Whenever you're not sitting, doing sitting meditation, formal meditation, it's called the meditation break. And it says, in the meditation break, be a creator of illusion. Okay, so see everything as being in the nature of illusion. Everything is like an illusion, it says. So in one way everything is an illusion. Everything that appears to us is an illusion. In another way it's not. Right? So the way that it is an illusion is that everything appears to exist inherently. And that's an illusion. But the things themselves that appear are not illusions, but they're like illusions. Yeah? They're no more substantial than an illusion. That's the point. You know, we take them to have this very solid, substantial, real existence from their own side. And actually they don't have any more substantiality, any more, you know, they're no more substantial than a rainbow or a dream. Everything's like that in nature. Everything is just created by the mind. That's why it says be a creator of illusion. We are, recognizing that everything that appears to our mind, we should reflect, it says, on our mistaken view of all phenomena in the same way that a conjurer regards his own illusory creations. We should regard it as an interesting. Actually, if you read this passage carefully, you'll see that what he's saying is that is an illusory creation, is our mistaken view of things. It's the appearance of things as inherently existent. That is, he's calling an illusory creation. But in other texts, it also says that the phenomena, although they do exist, they are like an illusion in that they are not actually any more substantial. They're not any more real from their own side than an illusion. Okay.
So it's really saying now, it's more real what's on the cushion than what's off the cushion. Our illusions, this most serious emotional afflictions arise not when we are meditating intensively, but when we are engaged in daily activities.
Right.
So our that life is almost more real when we're meditating than it is when we're not. You know that.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, in the meditation bread, the creator of illusion,
Yeah.
or have you, that life's more of the dream when we're not meditating than when we are meditating.
Yeah, if we're meditating properly.
Yeah, if we meditate properly, that is more like reality.
Yeah, of course.
Than when we're not meditating.
The whole purpose of meditation is to get in touch with reality. To see reality.
Yeah.
Yes. So therefore, it would be strange if we were seeing reality more clearly when we weren't meditating, wouldn't it?
It would, but it's kind of counterintuitive.
It's not the way we normally think. Yeah. We normally think that these very solid, real things from their own side is reality.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's the opposite.
Wow.
Yes. Very good, Paul. Thank you. I thought we were going to get through this section a lot quicker. It's deep stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It really is.
There's a lot in this text. A lot in this text. I think it's actually, I decided to teach this because I've always thought this is a wonderful text. It's quite a long time since I've read it. And seeing it, it's a superb. Just in a few pages, so much. This section, I had forgotten how much there was in the section on emptiness, because it is quite short and succinct, but it's full of meaning. So I'm inclined, I don't know whether to go on. There's one more section here. I wasn't sure whether to plunge into that or to leave that till next week. We've got a little bit of time left. Well, what I'll do is I'll pause for questions, and if there's not too many questions, I'll press on. But otherwise, we can come back to it next week. Has anybody got anything time for reflection, discussion, thoughts. You're all pondering.
There's just one that's slightly a bit of a circular thing.
Okay.
Which is the words, although these 6 methods may be helpful in meditating, if we do not have a correct idea of what emptiness is, time spent in meditation on it will be completely wasted. It's almost like, I feel like I'd have to spend a lot of time in meditation to get anywhere near a correct idea of what emptiness is. I suppose intellectually, we're talking about intellectually we can get a correct idea of emptiness.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Of course, without meditation, we can't possibly have a direct awareness of emptiness. So, in a sense, there is a sense in which we don't know what emptiness is until we've seen it.
Yeah.
You know, because the intellectual understanding is just knowing that the absence of something, to knowing that there isn't inherent existence. That's quite different from directly seeing the nature of reality. It's just we know that it's true that there's no inherent existence, but we don't see.
So
anyway,
when it says here, if we do not have a correct idea of what emptiness is, that is the intellect. So that's
absolutely
purely the intellectual.
Yes, and I think he's also he's saying really, you know, if we have a wrong idea, our meditation is going to be a bit of a waste of time.
Okay.
If we are clearly aware that we don't really know yet, and so we're still in our formal meditation, we're doing the analysis, we're trying to working towards that understanding. That's okay.
Right.
But if what he's referring to is a lot of people do what they think is meditation on an emptiness. They have like some experience of something space-like or whatever, but they don't actually know what emptiness means. They haven't actually studied it and done any kind of analytical thinking about it. They've just got some kind of mental image of what emptiness is like and just absorb into that. And space out. That's what he's guarding against.
Yeah. Which makes sense.
Yeah. It's very common, is that? Very common. Yeah, it's kind of okay. It's not harmful. But except if you are deceived by it into thinking you've had a direct awareness, then it could be harmful. Yeah. But anyway, I mean, I think the main point is, we need to continue studying, continue discussing, continue thinking about it, and continue doing the analytical meditation. And then there's no danger from doing a sort of placement meditation, getting absorbed in. It might not be actual emptiness, but as long as we're doing that other work, we're moving towards it and improving our concentration or whatever. But it will naturally get corrected through doing that study and debate and listening to teachings and reading and doing the analytical meditation. We get there in the end. It's just cautioning against thinking you understand it when you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So. Anything else? Well, maybe I'll press on a little bit. I haven't actually sort of should have done read through this section before I came tonight. But let's have a look. The true mode of existence. Then is that section. How do phenomena exist, and how does the self exist, the I? So it's an inquiry, Who or what am I? What is this I, who was born, who has grown, travelled and studied? Who is here? Whose name is this? Who am I? So in other words, I think it's kind of encouraging us not to sort of jump too quickly to the answer. I've looked at the answer in the back of the book and it doesn't exist, it's empty. we don't really get. I mean, I think it becomes a profound experience when we really, really search for it. Why would we do that? Because it's perfectly clear that I am important to me. I mean, it's like this. Who I think I am. It's very important to me, and that's not just. It's not just absurd, it's not just completely stupid. So, asking that question, who am I? What am I? It's a profound and important question. We need to engage with this inquiry. And I think if we don't do that, we don't get the genuine sort of experience of what it means that the I doesn't exist from its own side. We only get it by really, really looking for it and discovering. There is a kind of, there is a realization, which is not, and this is, I don't think this is not the path of seeing. It's not the direct awareness of it. We engage in this inquiry. What is this I? Who or what is David? And I look and I don't find it. But there's a point beyond that where I realise that I'm not going to find it. Where I discover that it can't be found. That is a very important realisation. And I don't think you can have that realisation without engaging deeply in the search. You might know intellectually, the answer is it can't be found. But you don't know what that means until you've looked for it and discovered and ascertained that it can't be found. That's what we're trying to do. Meditating deeply, we should examine all parts of our body from the top of our head down to the tips of our toes. So we all really know it can't be found. Well, what's the point in doing that? But actually it's to have more than just this bit of intellectual knowledge that, the self can't be found. But actually have an experience of not finding it and finding that it is unfindable. Once we have acquired the certainty that the I does not reside in any of these parts of the body, another question will arise. Is the I the mind, the consciousness? So that then becomes a very deep inquiry. It looks like that's the only thing that I can be. That's what Descartes thought, wasn't it? I am that which thinks, the mind. Many philosophers have thought that. Buddhist and non-Buddhist philosophers have come to that conclusion. The self must be the mind, mental consciousness. And so it takes a very deep inquiry to find that actually that doesn't hold up either. If we look closely at what would follow if this were the case, we discover many contradictions. So this is the analytical investigation of the mind. So the mind can be virtuous, non-virtuous, or neutral. Which one is the self? If I am the mind, am I the virtuous mind, the non-virtuous mind, or the neutral mind, etc. So he's trying to give this the sense that there's a lot of questions we need to ask. We need to really look into this, make it a sort of I watched a program the other week about police investigation of missing persons, and they bring out all these helicopters come out and they're kind of combing the woods, thousands of people looking for this person. A bit like that. Where is this missing person? Really, if it was a life or death matter to find the I, where is it? Get really serious about it. By these means we shall conclude that although our existence is obvious, The very strong and independent sense of I has merely been fabricated by our ignorance and does not actually exist. At that point we may almost decide that perhaps we do not exist at all. This is a very common experience. That nihilism. Yeah. So we have this innate self-grasping of eternalism, that there is a permanent self-existent I. When we find and we really kind of smash that, there's nothing there, and then we flip to the opposite extreme. Well, I don't exist at all, or nothing exists. Sometimes nothing exists. But that is going too far the other way. So it's this razor's edge of the middle way between the two, between complete non-existence and inherent existence. So how does the I actually exist? It's just a label on a collection. So he uses the example of a watch as well. None of the parts of this watch are the watch. Even the collection is not the watch. If I took it to pieces, it wouldn't be a watch. Okay. Even if the pieces are assembled like this, it's still not a watch until I regard it as a watch. Right? Let me think of a good example for that.
Modern art.
Pardon?
Modern art.
Yeah?
When you put the watch and you put it in nice...
it's no longer a watch, yeah.
No,
It's something else,
it's
yeah.
art.
Yeah. We can impute that onto anything, can't we? Anything can be a work of art.
That's like with the unmade bed.
Yeah.
It was at Liverpool, at the Tate Modern in Liverpool, when I was there. And it's quite funny, it's exactly what you said there. It's no longer just an unmade bed. Tracy Emin's is now a work of art, which is quite odd. It is an unmade bed.
Yeah. Yes.
You've given that example before, I think, David, using a car.
Yeah.
Or I think you've given it before with a car,
yeah.
and I always liked that.
Yeah. We impute something onto it that is more than what is actually there. Yeah.
And at what point I remember when we were doing it before, so you've got the path, so are the four wheels the car? No, they're four wheels, and then you've got the axles, is it now a car? At what point does it become a car? You put all the pieces together.
There's a Bertrand Russell had a good example actually of a knife that had 2 new blades and 3 new handles.
Where's the knife?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, that's very good. You could meditate on that one.
Yeah, lots of good examples.
Yeah, because when you take away one blade and you replace it, is it a knife?
Is it the same knife with the new blade?
It's kind of not really.
It is.
So
it
where's
isn't.
the original knife?
What do you choose to say? Because if it was, if it was something that had a lot of parts and you just change one part, we say, well, of course it's the same. Yeah, and then you change another part. Well, of course it's the same.
Yeah.
But
yes,
there you begin to realise something about the identity of that thing. It's much more to do with the mind than it is with what's out there. Yeah?
Yeah.
What makes it that is coming from here, not from out there. What makes it what it is the mind. So that's how the mind creates everything.
It's at the point it becomes it, doesn't it? At the point when it fulfills the function that we label it as. And then that's a conventional existence, yeah? Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, but it's also the act of labelling it that makes it what it is.
Because we label
it's not
it
just
at
what
that
it
point.
does.
Based on its function, we've given it a label, and that then
Yes.
creates a conventional
Yeah.
existence of it,
Yeah.
not a true existence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only way
Yeah,
I can understand.
that's
I
right.
think you're right.
Yeah, there is a quite famous example in philosophy of what's this called? Theseus? Sheep. It's you imagine there is a museum with a sheep.
Yeah.
One of these old ships made of
Yeah.
wooden bars,
Okay.
and there is a thief who's every night goes in and takes out a piece and replace it with a kind of
Fake
another one,
bit.
a fake
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
And then
Ah,
after
right. Yeah.
I don't know, a year or so, there is another sheep.
Yes.
So which one is the original one?
Which one? What's the question now?
So it's
the
about
question is
identity,
at what
is the
point
sheep?
does it become? Does it cease to be
Yes.
the original one? Yeah. 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 Yeah.
That's a really, because at what point does that ship now become that ship?
Yeah, because in a sense you have two ships now.
You have two ships, yeah.
Yeah.
It's at the time when the label's given like this, isn't it? With anything, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then that's just a conventional existence of the ship.
Trying to think of a good example.
But it's when you know it as well, isn't it? It's when you know it as being that from an experience. It's like the one
Yeah,
the
but
cup,
that's-
isn't it?
Yeah.
But that knowing it as that is contributed by the mind.
Conceptual
We don't
then,
think
yeah.
that. We think it's because,
Because
we've
it
seen
is.
something that was out there independently of the mind
Yeah.
Yeah.
that we've now come to know that it is a so-and-so. But no, it's we have put that identity onto it.
Yes,
That's the point.
yeah, that's it.
Because to the woodworm with the ship they was talking about, it's not a ship, it's just a big lot of food, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I think that's enough for time. This has been merely a brief explanation about emptiness. Together with some meditational methods and techniques, we should approach qualified spiritual teachers who are well versed in this subtle subject and study it more deeply in order to comprehend it, for it requires both much learning and much meditative practice before it can be realized directly. We may now have a slight intellectual understanding of it, but only having attained an intuitive insight into emptiness shall we become aware of the true mode of existence of all phenomena. Okay. All right. So that's just sort of encouragement to
Come.
keep going. It's worthwhile. I do think that it's a particularly good sort of particularly good teaching in this book. This is how many pages? 69 to 84. No. 16 pages. Quite short. Not that difficult in terms of, very, very directly sort of focused towards making it real and making it practical and getting a real experience of it. So I think we could, you could really take this as a basis over a period of time to work with it, to get some real sort of, get somewhere with emptiness. Because it can be a very daunting thing. It can, So he is saying, of course, you've got to go further. Of course, we need to study deeper. But still, just with this quite short, relatively simple bit of teaching, we can really do a lot with it. I think it's beautifully put together. He was a very great teacher, Geshe-Rinpoche. Okay.
I also like regarding short text on emptiness. There is a chapter in the book by Thich Nhat Hanh, Old Path to White Clouds, which is a biography of the Buddha based on sutras. There is one chapter which the sources are I think 4 or 5 sutras kind of woven together, and it's 10 pages, like very nice.
Yeah, very wonderful teaching. Thich Nhat Hanh, amazing teaching. Okay, so shall we do for a few minutes of meditation? And just take a couple of minutes to settle the mind and body. And which one is you? If you had to choose at this moment, would you say that you are your mind or you are your body? Or neither of the two, something separate from both? So make a choice and then investigate. And really search for that I that is somewhere in your mind or somewhere in your body or somewhere else. If you become clear, you cannot find yourself in your body, then investigate whether you can be found within your mind, and vice versa. If you've drawn a blank looking at your mind, now look in your body. Maybe somewhere there's a sense or a feeling of I in some part of your body. Then look more closely. Is that really who you are? When you say, I'm going to the shop, is it that which is going to the shop? And yet we do have a sense of me, I. What is the object of that thought? If I'm having a thought, where is the I that's having a thought? What is it that's hearing these sounds? If you can't find the I in any part of your body or in any part of your mind, is there anywhere else it could be? Yet there is no doubt that I do exist. But apparently not in the way that I thought. This is not just applying to myself. If I look in the same way from my mind or my body or anything at all, on closer investigation I will not be able to find it. And yet it exists. Nothing exists independently. Nothing exists by itself from its own side without depending on a mind that views it in a certain way. The mind itself is the same. It only exists as a mind because we label and apprehend it as such. The same is true of emptiness itself. It too is just imputed. By the mind. When we let go of holding on to things as if they exist from their own side, we experience a sense of release and freedom. There's no need to be anxious and distressed, worry about things. We can allow the universe to be as it is. Application Press. Page 23. May the Supreme Jewel Bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow. May that which has arisen not diminish but increase more and more. Through the merit of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of the Guru Buddha, and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. Long life prayers. 34. Tu tu chang jing zhang gen gyo wei, gen zing ke bel wei kun zi do po zi, shok song kor wei le men tu dru, pa dak sok tu je kun du jab ten shong. Gang ri a wei kor wei jing kang de, Rendang Dewa Manu Jung Wei Nei, Chen Rei Zi Wang Tenzin Gatso Yi, Jia Plei Si Te Pardu Teng Yu Chi. Thank you very much. Thank you. Can I just ask a quick sort of clarification question? I asked this last week, but I think there weren't enough people here. I know some of you have agreed to be here before the teaching and help. You were going to do that, Adam. Is that
I didn't actually agree to it, but I seem to be doing it.
You seem to be
that's
doing
fine.
Okay. Now, I just wanted to be clear because it seems to be a bit ad hoc. So, who else is able to be here either before or after on a moderately regular basis and able to just help with setting up and taking down things?
I do the cashing up.
Yeah, you do
At the end?
Yeah, I always do that at the end.
Okay. Thank you, Lindsay.
When
Great.
I'm here, which is
Brilliant.
hopefully most of the time.
I'm going to start getting erratic.
You're erratic.
I will be.
Yeah, okay, that's
now,
fine.
summer's
Yeah.
Most of the times I can stay a bit longer, but sometimes I have to rush away.
That's not a problem because that's just kind of, if we have one person who's reasonably regular and another one as a sort of a backup, are you able to come a bit early sometimes, Charlotte? You can't? No, okay.
No, I could maybe stay. I'm a
You
bit
can
like
stay,
you,
all right,
but
okay,
not
okay.
early, sorry.
Okay, no, that's fine. Yeah.
Shall I just
We'll
let
manage
you know
it.
if I can't make it?
Sorry?
Shall I just let you know if I can't?
If you can't, that'd be helpful. Yeah. I mean, the most helpful thing is if there's a kind of pair who can sort of,
Yeah.
communicate with each other. If there's somebody who's doing it as a sort of a number one, and let the number two know if you can't do it. But we might not be able to.
Well, if Adam can be the main man, I could be your substitute.
All right.
Oh yeah, great, brilliant. Okay, so you can substitute for Adam, and you can substitute for Lindsay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
That
do the
work?
cashing up. But I mean, most of the time I'm here.
Yeah, good.
And
Thank you.
also, is
Yeah.
there anything else to do, like
At the end,
at the end?
it's just empty the water bowls. Yeah.
You can tell me everything.
I can tell you. You need to be shown how to do that